Hey everyone, Ravi's here and welcome to Gundam June, where I review a whole bunch of Gundam kits that I build right before reviewing them because I have a way too big of backlog. So basically, this is going to be starting off with the Moon Gundam from Mobile Suit Moon Gundam, which is, I think, a manga. Doesn't have an anime adaptation yet. As you can see, here's the box with all the cool stuff. The Moon Gundam, probably one of the coolest Gundams, and one of the most highly rated model kits I have ever seen from Bandai. So yeah, let's get this thing built in 5, 4, 3, 2... Okay, I built the Moon Gundam, and it's pretty cool. A few hours later, and yeah, that's a lot of panel lining. Starting off with the kit's appearance, this thing looks really cool. My only issue is that they tried to do the two-tone thing that they do on real grade, but it just kind of feels like they did splotches of white on very, very light gray, and it just feels off. Other than that, it looks really cool, and this thing has a lot of parts layering on top of each other to create a really cool looking build. And as a tricolor Gundam, it looks awesome. Now, I could argue that maybe it's a little small. I don't know the exact height of the Moon Gundam, but when we get to size comparison, you'll see what I mean. Story-wise, I don't know too much about it, except for the fact that it's based on, I think, New Gundam Psychoplate technology, and it turns into the Sosby later on. This is in the development path. Then you have the Vargile, which I don't have a kit of, and then bam, you get Sosby. So I guess the New Gundam didn't exist yet, but you know, semantics. But this thing is just cool. It's a tricolor Gundam, it's a big Gundam, it's kind of the Sosby Gundam. So, kind of like if you untitanified a Gundam, untitanified a Sosby, even though it was never a Titan suit, but you know what I mean. You know, you see the fire alarm and the Ashimar, yeah, that sort of stuff. So yes, this thing is gorgeous. Look at all that detail that I have brought out with some panel lighting, not to, jerk myself off, but yeah, lots of panel lighting. This thing has been panel lined pretty much up the wazoo, except for on the back plates. So, well, semantics. But yeah, this kit looks really good. Even just ignoring the panel lining, the kit looks good, is solid, and we'll see more of that solidness in a second. Yes, you have that very Sosby shape, and let me just remove the psycho plate. Oh gosh. Alright, I have removed the backpack, and now we'll put on the replacement part for right there, and you can see that this is a very unique backpack. It technically has that beam saber silhouette, except the beam saber is actually B-Max that is in right there in the center. Otherwise, these can either hold some extra moon plates, or I believe it can also act as a secondary part of the stand. I think that's what the instructions said. Anyway, if you're curious, the teal and red parts in the lines are Sharpie that I just added in because you don't get stickers. Yeah, that's right, you don't get any stickers with this kit, which is actually really impressive for a high grade. Now, I would show you for the accessories all the little ways you can maneuver the cycle plates, but instead I'm just gonna be a lazy bones and grab the instructions. So according to the instructions, if I go to the right page, yeah, totally. The cycle plates can be put together on their backs to fold onto the back. You can curve them like this, and you can also attach them to the arm there. The arm, of course, contains these things, which kind of fold out like this. If I can get my nail in. Okay, I just popped it off. Yeah, so that contains this little thing, which can, I guess, somehow go into here. What? Anyway, I see. You could just attach, I guess, this back there into there. Anyway, for how weird that is, you get these you get 4 of this beam effect part, and you just attach that into there. That gives you these extra little beam blades that are very, kind of Gundam Strike-like in Gundam Strike, Sword Striker-like. These are pretty cool, but you have no way of actually putting them anywhere because they just kind of do that. So you get 4 of this pink part, and they're really cool looking. I just have no idea how you're going to pose with them because they're not really designed to fit into anything, and they just gotta exist. I mean, I'm glad we have them because then you can... Nope, you can't even because of the angle. Okay, that feels kind of useless, but you know what? It's better it exists than it doesn't exist. Just like the back detail, which is, once again, really nice. Though the included axe does feel like it stands out a bit. Again, it has that two-tone plastic, which for this, I don't feel like it works, but it exists. So we get to use it. So if I could... there we go. Here we have I believe it's not a Sasami blade piece. I think this is a Shinhanju pink blade piece, but that looks really sweet. And obviously, as a round handle in a round hole, it can actually... Close enough. That actually fits really well into the handle. It's not going to fall out, which is a surprise for a Gundam kit because, these handles usually like to fall out. And that just looks really freaking sweet. Just totally sweet. That looks cool. Now, obviously, you have the very Sasami looking gun with the trigger hand, which is actually interesting. Unlike the other kits, which have the fist hand and then the backing, this actually has the fingers as its own separate piece, which kind of means it can start splitting off if you move it. Plus, despite that, it's not fully solid. It does jingle around, which is annoying, but it's not that bad when it's actually being held. Let's look on to the other hands. You have your fist/grabby hands and your open palm hands. And for articulation, this kit is highly posable. Starting off, you have a ball joint at the neck, which then is connected into a hinge joint. That's actually a clip that then connects into another hinge joint, allowing for a really nice range of articulation in that head for the Moon Gundam. And then moving down to the shoulder, you have full 360 degree, but then you also have this extra bit that raises up in the shoulder, and of course that is just a hinge, and this is just a ball joint. Then you have on the shoulder sides, that is on a hinge, and that is all the range it gets. Super nice. Then you have a full 360 at the upper arm, but that has its own raise that can go pretty much almost to 90, if not at 90, and then you have a double jointed elbow. Now, I did actually break the pegs on one of these while building because I had to take it apart and put it back on because I had this part in reverse. Fortunately, though, it still works solid as a rock, which is really nice. Moving down to the wrist, it is just a ball joint, so that's pretty nice and nifty. For the torso, it's a little limited. You don't have any upper torso articulation, but on the bottom, you have it connected to a ball joint, which then connects to a hinge in that torso, allowing for this far backward and this far forward. Moving to the waist, you then have, these are on clips, so they just go up and down. Back skirt, also on a clip, go up and down like that. Still pretty nice and normal. And then these are on ball joints, obviously pretty standard for a high grade. Then you have these legs are on a swing joint, which honestly is a little too loose for my liking. And then these are the amazing splits. The thigh is on a swivel, and then the knee is double jointed, but it splits apart, creating this really nice little looking effect. Then moving down even further, we have this hinge joint, which I guess is supposed to be a propeller or a thruster, but it doesn't look like a thruster in there, so that kind of throws me for a loop. Then of course you have a hinge joint and then you have a hinge joint and then a other hinge joint going side to side for the foot. And this is on its own little flippity flap thing. That is all the articulation in this model kit, aside from obviously these in the back, plus the come on, plus this that also moves all the way around, so that's all nice and dandy. So there you go, that is all the articulation on this awesome model kit, and you get a really wide range of poses on this guy. Now, I am worried about the long-term stability of some of these C-clip joints, but that's what's the point. Overall, this guy poses like a dream and is super cool and fun, which, as you all know, is always the most important part of a model kit or action figure. Fun! Now, it does also come with a stand, but I didn't bother to build it, so whatever. Well, this video went on for a little longer than I wanted it to, despite me trying to keep it short and brief and all that other fun stuff. So let's get on to the size comparisons. Here we have the SHF Kaiju Ranger Red and the SHF Okaroon, YOLO Park EV Unit 1, and the Figma Metroid Other M, the high-grade Mudrock, and the always bulky Sazabi. Now, this is a fascinating look because the Moon Gundam turns into the Sazabi later in development. So how did it get all this extra height? I swore that the Moon Gundam was bigger, but I guess not. The Sazabi is just massive. A big, chunky boy. Look at the size of those limbs, the size of those things, but the overall silhouette is extremely similar. This is just a much more rounded shape as opposed to the much more geometrical shape of the Moon Gundam. Quite a fascinating evolution. Though obviously the butt skirt is the biggest giveaway that these two suits are related. And before I forget, these are the stand adapter parts. Okay, that's enough for that. Thank you guys for watching this video. I did want to cut this a lot shorter, but I guess not. So I won't be doing a I won't be doing the here are the poses section. I'll be saying, hey, this is the model kit. It's cool. You should get it. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.